What's going on, everyone?
Nope. Hold up. It's preparing to live stream the meeting.
No, we're on. We're live. We're live, everyone. What's going on, everyone? We are here at Kyle Field. It's a socially distanced post-game Periscope, Facebook Live. We're here on Zoom. All of us are here at Kyle Field, but we're in our separate little areas. I'm Travis Brown with the Eagle. Also on here we have Robert Cessna, also of the Eagle, and Alex Miller, again, of the Eagle. We're here to break down Texas A&M's 17-12 win over Vanderbilt. They were 30-point favorites, the Aggies were, in this game. 17-12 final score, nail biter. It pretty much took a sack by Michael Clemens there at the end of the game to kind of ice this one. Cease, what'd you take from this game?
Man, I think like everyone, I took a lot of questions. First thing I thought about is ugly wins. Where does this rank in ugly wins? I think of Army a few years ago under Dennis Franchione. I mean, I was just a little mesmerized as this unfolded. I knew A&M was going to have young wide receivers. The passing game may struggle, but just not to be able to put Vanderbilt away was shocking to me. I think Vanderbilt might be a little bit better than people thought, but come on, if A&M wants to be one of the top 2-3 teams in the conference, I was mind-boggling because I actually thought Jimbo was agitated as he came in and answered us because I think this even surprised him.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, sorry, my technical difficulties. I'll get my video back here in just a second. Yeah. I think it all started with a very sluggish offensive performance. I know we will for sure get to grades here in a second, but Kellen Mond said he had a clean game today. Do you think Kellen Mond's game was as clean as he said?
If Kellen Mond said that, I had to get off because I had so much to do on deadline. He had 2 fumbles. He threw some passes high. Yes, his receivers had some drops, but I did not think Kellen Mond had a clean game. I would have given him at best maybe a C-. I just expect more out of a senior quarterback. And I know Jimbo kind of said he'd look at the tape too. Come on, gang. It's 17-12. If you miss 80 questions on a 100 question test, I can't give you an A. I mean, come on. I mean, you can't, and that's a little bit, let's say 100. They got a 63 and 60's a D. I mean, they barely escaped Vanderbilt. And I think you got to point to everybody because I thought Vanderbilt won a lot of plays. And that's I got a problem with that.
Yeah. So we A&M came out, faced a freshman quarterback. The biggest thing that kind of stood out to me, especially in the first half, is that an A&M defense that had a pretty touted defensive line that said that they're going to be improved on the edge rush, that had a very veteran linebacker in Buddy Johnson. They really couldn't get much pressure on the freshman. You figure that would be the game plan when you know that you're going to go against a guy who's making his college debut. And at halftime, they had no sacks and 1 quarterback hurry, and that was a Bobby Brown quarterback hurry in there. Just seemed like against Vanderbilt, again, a team that everyone thought was going to be 30-point dogs to A&M. You can't get in there and get any pressure on the freshmen.
With you 100%, because once again, early on A&M didn't win the line of scrimmage. And I find that really amazing because I'm not saying anything people don't know. I think Jimbo's a great coach. I think he prepares his teams well. And I didn't think this team was ready for this game because they come out, you think an offense, 3 and out, after they should return the kickoff return. And that was after Vanderbilt had the ball for 6 minutes, 2 seconds, 13 plays. And why did they do that? Because they converted 3rd and 9 with a draw. A&M was not ready to start this game. And that is coaching, or you know what I mean? And, it's like there's only one perfect person ever, God. And Jimbo, this team wasn't ready today. And you're playing Vanderbilt, and you say, well, it'll go away, and pretty soon it'll be 31-14. Never happened.
Right. Well, I definitely want to make sure to remind everyone. Go ahead and fire in your questions, your comments, your responses, your reactions to this game on Facebook or Periscope. If you're watching, we got Alex Miller in here curating those. He'll fire those questions in and get those going. Cease, the biggest thing, and you, I believe, brought this up, and a lot of people brought this up leading into this, is that in these early games, special teams can be so pivotal. And we saw that Anais Smith did some great stuff out of the backfield. He scored a touchdown on a touchdown run, but then right after that, fielding a punt, stepped back into the end zone while fielding the punt. Instead of just taking a knee, decided to try to run it out. Brian George, the cornerback who's playing on special teams, had a crackback block that's now, of course, illegal, and in the end zone gave a safety. Not only gave them a safety, but then on that side note, how weird was it that the SEC had 2 halftime scores of 7-5 today?
I never really thought about that until you mentioned that. But as I wrote in my grades, there are junior high coaches will be mad at what Smith did. Now, Smith's going to win a lot of games for A&M. And you're right, his 25-yard touchdown or 35-yard, whatever it was really nice. He's made plays. But man, you can't catch that punt. You can't do that. You got to know where you're at. You're at home. And you look at all the plays that he made. You even take he had the nice 23-yard screen pass with the 2 tight ends blocking. There was a hold on Wiedemeyer, or else they scored there and get a 2-score lead. And it's just that they made mistakes at the critical times for the first 3 quarters. And I've done this business a long time. I'm always amazed that I'm still surprised, because I thought A&M would be really ready for this game, because you're playing an SEC team. This is Jimbo's 3rd year. They have a tough camp with a couple players leaving, and we saw him at practice how emotional he is. I didn't think his team was that emotional to start the game. I didn't see it.
Yeah. So excuse us, folks, for a second. We have we're technical difficulties. Alex, can I go ahead and get you to mute your line, because I think Cease is coming through there and getting a little echo. So we'll go ahead and make that happen. Cease, so we have Alabama coming up next week. This is going to be the toughest test. If anyone was holding out hopes, or anyone possibly said that that A&M was going to go 8-2 this year, to try to maybe take the SEC West, I mean, the season's on the line right now. That's what you get with a 10-game season. The season's on the line this week. How does A&M turn around what we just saw today to try to save any hope for maybe having a conference championship this year?
It's a great question, Travis, because I asked myself that, because I think Jimbo alluded to it in his synopsis of the game, which I thought was great. He mentioned disappointing, not going to get, we're going to fix it. But the physicality, they were not physical enough with Vanderbilt, and they had to play the whole time. I thought that this game's going to take a lot out of them mentally and physically, because they didn't do what they were supposed to. And you're right. And I'm thinking, how are they going to match up with Alabama's defensive line and offensive line? What I saw out there, I didn't see a team that could play with Alabama, or maybe even Florida, because once again, is when you go down to Alabama and get beat up. I've seen every year A&M get beat up when you play Alabama. Their lines are, along with LSU typically, in Georgia, and you got to match up physically, and A&M did not match up on enough plays physically against Vanderbilt. I thought Derek Mason and his staff did a great job. And, you can tell Jimbo's not going to, he said, hey, great effort. And he's got to do some coach speak, but what's he saying in the locker room? Because he had As I finish my column, 17-12. You played Vanderbilt at home. I mean,
Yeah.
was that the first quarter score?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about one thing. I know all of us over and over and over again have said the key to the season lies in A&M's offensive line. How are they going to improve from the last 2 years? I've said the stat multiple times. Pro Football Focus put out that Kellen Mond had the most passing yards while under pressure of any quarterback since 2018. A&M also is in the top 5 of allowing sacks over the last 2 seasons as well. How do you grade what this offensive line did? Because I leaned over to you during the game and said, I don't really know what to do with this, because it was a little bit up and down. There was times that they definitely looked like they were improved, but then there was times that, especially in trying to establish the run, it didn't seem like it was quite there. What did you make of the offensive line?
Great question, because we talked about that, and we talked about Alex, and Darren Benson was out with us, part of the team tonight. I said going into this that if you're A&M, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot tonight to get ready to beat Alabama and Florida, because they're not going to be able to line up between the tackles and give the ball to Spiller and Smith a lot. So they're going to have to rely on Mond's legs and arms, and this is a great dress rehearsal for them. Come out, use it, get those young receivers, some confidence. But Jimbo Fisher's never going to admit to that, but you're always thinking they're going to kill Vanderbilt. So they weren't able to kill Vanderbilt. What's funny is in the second half, they come out and go right back to the run. Spiller runs down. They scored a touchdown, but then they get back to the passing game, because once again, you're not going to go in and run the ball down Alabama's throat next week. We're going to have to see Chapman and Smith out of the backfield. We're going to see those tight ends. We're going to see Mon make good throws all the time. 2 of the best throws we saw tonight were by Seals on the shoulder throw in the ball for the touchdown, not by Mon, not by the senior quarterback. And to answer your question, and I didn't put this in my grades, and this is why you need to follow us all, because we think a lot more after we talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that offensive line had a great game, because I saw pressure at times on Mon, and sometimes he had a lot of time, but I didn't think he really did have a lot of time most of the time against Vanderbilt. And I'm trying to guess, okay, Alabama's front 4, or if they bring a 5th guy, is a lot better than what Vanderbilt can bring.
And how many times did it seem like you say, oh, hey, Kellen has some time. Okay, there's some pressure coming. Okay, he's stepping up in the pocket. He's making a move. He's making his reads. And then you kind of look at the replay and go, oh, wait, that was a 3-man rush.
Right.
Yeah. And
I'm sitting there and I go, they're getting guys close with 3 men. And we talked about this all offseason. The offensive line now, next 2 weeks, I never thought they'd have trouble with Vanderbilt. I mean, I'm not going to lie to people. I'm still a little amazed at what I saw. I'm trying to digest it, because where was that defense that ended the game? That, Vanderbilt, if they'd had ball 2 more times, A&M's defense might have scored. I mean, because A&M's defense was taken over, and I go, where was that at the start? That's what I thought I'd see. And the fans are asking the same questions that we can't answer, because I'm sitting here like, I hate to say it, I don't think the offensive line is still that dominant. And I saw too many drops by the young receivers. I saw too many bad throws by Kellen Mond. Now, once again, is we don't watch film, or those young receivers, were they 1 yard off, so that Mond knows exactly where to throw it, and that guy's a yard off. But all I know is I saw this Ken Seals make 2 throws tonight that I go, oh my gosh, that guy's a true freshman.
Yeah, a little background on Ken Seals, and I did a story on it you can read at the eagle.com right now. Ken Seals, a guy from Weatherford, Texas, just up Fort Worth way. Played his first year at Azel. Do it.
Kangaroos. Come on, Kangaroos.
Yeah, the Kangaroos.
I love that nickname.
Played Azel, transferred to Weatherford. A guy, he won 2 quarterback competitions during his middle school years while he was up in Ohio. Came back, and coaches started paying attention. when I was covering TCU for the 4-Star Telegram, I'm over at a TCU summer camp where they have all the recruits and the commits and stuff come in. They're working out, and I have this dad come over to me and another reporter I know. They say, "Hey, you need to come see this kid," and I'm like, rolling my eyes, like, okay, some other junior from Fort Worth Trimble Tech that someone wants, whatever. And they bring me over, and I see this kid who's half as tall as everyone else, who's zinging passes here and there, and I say, okay, well, this might be something. This is a 7th grader who has Sonny Cumbie over here smiling and talking, and then turns out he's really, really smart too, and he's getting offers from Princeton and Harvard, and so his parent, he wanted to play D1 football, big Power 5 football. His parents said, hey, think 40 years, not 40, and so Vanderbilt kind of fit right there in the middle of good academics and getting to play SEC football. He was high on A&M. He liked A&M. His dad said he had conversations with Coach Dickey. Jimbo Fisher said he came to A&M camp, and Jimbo Fisher said he liked him a lot. He impressed me. I mean, that is a quarterback who in a year or two is going to be one of the names that we're seeing at SEC Media Days and we're talking about.
And you go back and watch the film on his first interception, I think it was down near the goal line. If the receiver breaks in where Seals thought he was, that'd have been a touchdown because he was going to be open. And I guess I'll ask you a question. Other than the defense for A&M coming up in the fourth quarter and actually, to me, winning the game, and I just saw this, what did A&M do well that you can build on? I mean, and I never really thought about it. What did they do? Anything else besides that defense in the fourth quarter stepping up that you go, oh man, that was great that they did that?
I mean, the only thing that I mentioned in my 3 takes, and that is kind of one lone bright spot was Aaron Hansford, the guy who stepped in for Anthony Hines at linebacker when Anthony Hines opted out 6 days ago, and he co-led with Buddy Johnson tackles with 11. The other thing that gives me some intrigue that I think could be something, and it's something we talked about before the season as well, and it seemed to work out like we thought it would, is that 2-back set on offense with Anaya Smith and Isaiah Spiller. If you look at most of the big runs that Isaiah Spiller had, I do believe came out of that 2-back set, because you can have with the offensive, they had no gaps to run up the middle with the offensive line through the first half. They had to run out around the outside and didn't really have a whole lot of success there. But when you put both those backs in there, you have Anais come around the back and run out like he could take a pass in the flat. One of Spiller's big runs, Anais came around the back, went out the outside, and the linebacker took 4 steps that way and immediately stopped and was all twisted around when he saw that the ball went to Isaiah Spiller, and he went right up the middle. I don't know, that's not going to be something that's going to work a lot, because you can only do that so many times. It becomes a triple option type. It's really just an RPO version of the veer. But it opened up some running lanes where there wasn't any otherwise. And I think that is something that could have some limited success moving forward.
I guess I can ask a question to you and Alex, and I know you guys do a great job keeping up on this. Did another offensive lineman play, and were there any players, I know you guys kept up on us, any players that didn't play tonight that we thought we might see in the game?
Yeah. Well, I'll start out with the 2 guys that clearly were injured was Hezekiah Jones had a boot on his left foot. Mon mentioned that was one of the reasons, not only with Osmond opting out, but Hezekiah Jones was going to be the next big guy. A lot of people talking about big things coming from him over fall camp. He had a boot on his leg. We needed to ask. That'll be a question for Monday on what's going on with Jones and how long he'll be out. And then Luke Matthews, backup center, had his right arm in a sling. And that is the 2 people that were most visible. Alex, you were keeping up with the other guys. What did you see out there?
Yeah, definitely no starters out tonight for A&M, which was a plus for them. But there were quite a few backups that were missing, especially on defense. You go down the list, defensive tackle Josh Rogers was out, Braden Mowry was out, defensive end. You had some defensive backs, freshman Antonio Johnson, Clifford Chapman, senior, he's been a veteran, and freshman Josh Moten. All those guys were not available tonight. And so, there was a little bit of lack of depth on defense, I guess you could say, but the defense and especially the secondary with Damani Richardson and Leon O'Neal coming up with those interceptions, those were pretty big. And so A&M didn't really have any troubles not having those key backups per se. But yeah, Matthews was a guy that we thought would compete for that starting center job, and he's not playing. He's had his arm in that sling. We don't know how long he'll be out. That'll be something to ask coach on Monday. But McCollum started at center, and it seemed like they had the same five throughout the whole game. I didn't really notice any major changes. A&M seemed to be rolling with the same squad the whole night.
Yeah, and they didn't make any changes. The other notable thing on Mon's fumble, where it kind of he got his kind of a strip sack type situation. Really, Dan Moore got pushed back into him over at left guard, and so that was kind of more of a. And Jimbo mentioned that's kind of more of an offensive line fumble than it is necessarily a Kellen Mond fumble.
But when he had that fumble on 4th and 1, it reminded me of when he ran into Spiller when they played Arkansas last year. Once again, is you would expect a clean handoff between your senior and what have you, and 4th and 1 after the timeout. That was just one of many ugly plays that you go like, man, if you can't pick up 4th and 1 at home, less than 1 at home against Vanderbilt, how are you going to go pick that up in Alabama? And I know you get the kinks out, but man, they just had so many plays that I just shook my head and I go, what is going on with these guys? And you want to think, well, the light was going to go on, but it didn't. And I think what you said, if you looked at, you had a grade Mon and you had a grade Seals, it's not like the true freshman was that far behind the senior starting his 35th game or whatever. And I think that's a concern if you're A&M and you're going to Tuscaloosa next week.
Yeah. Let's close out with. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about. I think, Cease, you hit the nail on the head when you said, what necessarily is there to be what can A&M be happy about in this game? And there's really not that much. One thing that A&M fans can be happy about is the fact that there was football back here at Kyle Field, and there was fans in the stands to be able to watch it. There was media here to be able to cover it. They had a football game. Alex, I know you worked on a story that'll be in the Eagle tomorrow about the experience of getting football back and having fans in the stands. We need to go out and verify this, but as of right now, this is probably one of the largest sports gatherings that have happened in the world since COVID came back, with how many people. And I know we don't have a final exact total of the attendance yet, but you talked to some people. Alex, what did you hear about how everything was run today to get this thing off the ground?
Yeah, so A&M actually did announce its attendance. It was 24,073 fans, which I did the math via my handy dandy iPhone calculator, and that came out to about 23 and some change % of the total Kyle Field capacity. So Kyle Field was limited to 25%, so they almost hit that mark. I wrote that story and trying to get the feel of the unique, odd game day experience, and talked to some fans that were at the game, some season ticket holders that had had tickets for a long time. I think everybody was just really excited to be there. One woman told me that it was kind of depressing just how small it was, that everybody wasn't going to be able to get there. But hey, they were there. We watched football. They were there with their friends and their family. It was smaller than normal, but in a time like this, you take what you get and you don't complain if you want to watch it. So I think at the end of the day, people were satisfied coming to be here. Probably weren't satisfied with the product on the field, and rightfully so. A&M played really sloppy. It looked like they overlooked Vanderbilt with those big games against Alabama and Florida ahead. But, I think fans in general were just thankful to be here. And hopefully everybody stayed safe and we're able to continue this football season, because I know everybody wants to see more games.
I was surprised with how much volume was coming from the stands. Yes, it didn't sound like that huge roar. We didn't get the press box sway during when the Aggie wore him, but there was noise, and you could hear what the fans' reactions were to the game. You could hear the ebbs and flows of the games and the fans, and I kind of wasn't expecting that. I kind of was expecting it to be a much lower buzz, and I was pleasantly surprised. If I was looking at the field and not really paying attention to the stands, I wouldn't necessarily think that things were going differently. Cease, what do you think?
I had a lot of smiles because we're doing football. As I said, I did a pregame show, and I know you guys did shows and did things. And here we are doing a postgame show. So football's back. That's great. And I did chuckle to myself when the fans cheered when Smith let the punt go over his head the second time. And I go, we're back in football. That's great. And I know people are upset about the Aggies, the way they played. But, hey, we're seeing football. A&M won a game. And I know it's about as ugly a win as you're going to see. One of the ugliest wins I've seen of the team I'm covering. There's been ugly wins. There's always ugly wins. But when you cover a team and you know what the expectations are, but, football. We're here. Next week, they play Alabama. The following week, Florida comes to town. I mean, oh, my gosh. I watched a lot of football before I came out here. It's great.
Well, everyone, my earpiece is telling me that battery is low, so charge your microphone. So that probably is a good sign. Let's go ahead and shut this down and let's go home. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back with these every time. We'll be socially distanced like this, so it'll be a little bit weird. But also, we have to throw out there, and I know we haven't really officially gotten to do this, but welcome Alex Miller to the team, the Eagle coverage team. He'll be out here, be helping us out as much as he can, and when we're on the road, he'll be producing from home. So glad to have Alex Miller now on the Eagle team, and good to go. So good work, Alex.
Thanks, Travis. I appreciate it.
He's our Ken Seals. Really good.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. Again, we'll be back. So have your questions come in, and we'll get those midweek, and then me and Cease will be out in Alabama, and we'll see what happens out there. Be sure to check theeagle.com for all our write-ups, videos, reaction from the game tonight, and as we move into next week and Monday when Jimbo Fisher talks to us again. Everyone have a great night, and we'll talk to you again soon. And we'll produce on the fly here a little bit. Alex, just click the same button to start it as to end it.
Yep. And I'm stopping the Field 59 stream. It's a good thing we did that because I had
we're still live. Go ahead and stop it on Zoom.